This new Master of Bones legendary item is actually kind of crazy. What it does is skeletal mages have a chance to be empowered immediately casting a bone spell when summoned. So what happens is when you use your new mage, it looks like this as compared to a normal looking one right next to it. You can see the color difference. Now, the actual drop rate on whether it's going to be empowered or not is pretty good. It seems like it's about maybe 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10 of the mages will actually end up being empowered. You can see that represented here quite easily, and it seems fairly consistent. However, what is not consistent is what the skills they actually have are. Now, there's 3 different skills that these characters will use, because if you actually read the ability, what it does is it turns your skeleton mages to be empowered, immediately casting a bone spell when summoned, which is correct. When they first get summoned, they're going to pick one of 3 different abilities. Now, the 3 abilities they are going to have is either bone spikes, and they actually seem to cast a fully summoned version of the bone spikes. Let's see if we can get that example here, or bone spirit. So here we have the bone spirit. Next one is represented, which is essentially the channeled non-stop bone spirit's casting ability, which I will show you very briefly, which I'll show you this one right here. Put that here. They basically do this same ability. So it does a channeling ability from the mage itself. And then the third ability that these mages actually have, there's the bone spikes. You can see it does seem like it is a fully charged version, because you can see the one I just did was smaller there. And then the third ability it will have, there's the bone spirits once again, is going to be actually casting a shield. Now the shield is there. It doesn't seem significant. It seems 15 to 20% maybe of the mage's HP. You can see there, it seems maybe 10% of my total HP. If you look at my health, then my health on this character right now is 106,000. So it's maybe it was like 10k health shield. Not too impressive. But what is impressive is if you summon multiple of these mages, you can actually stack the shields. So the way the mages work is there's the three different mage variants. One only casts a shield, one only casts the spikes, one only casts the spirits. However, it's random which of these 3 variants you're going to get when you summon them. So I summon them, this guy could cast a spirit shield, this guy could cast a skull, a bone spirit, he could cast the bone spikes. We don't know. It's going to be one of the 3. Bone armor, bone spikes, bone spirit. It's going to cast one of those 3. So go up here, summon, randomly there's bone spikes. Let's try to get another guy out here, and it could be bone spikes again, it could be bone spirit again, it could be literally whatever, right? So there's the shield, etc. There is no rhyme or reason to what it was. Originally, I did a lot of testing. I thought it went, bone spirits, then shield, then spikes, and it rotated. It doesn't. I can actually show you footage where I have multiple of them right next to each other. Let me show you here. There you go. 2 bone spirits that were right next to each other, and they were both casting bone spirits. So now we know for a fact that it doesn't matter that multiple of them can stack on top of each other. We got proof of that. I thought it was cycling. It's not. It's completely RNG what kind of mages you get when you summon them. So what this actually means is that you have the opportunity to have multiple of these. For instance, look at this right here. Double bone armors cast at the same time, and they stack on top of each other. So you can have 2, 3 mages in a row only do bone shields, which means you get tanky, or you could have 3 of them in a row doing bone spikes, which means it's knocking up the PvE monsters and things like challenge rifts. Or you could have 3 of them in a row all do the bone spirits, which means when you're on a boss and then the crusader banners you and you have some insane damage, you have these sort of spike moments of DPS. It's not consistent because there's RNG to both getting the empowered mages and getting the correct one for the correct situation. But the empowered mages do seem 7 or 8 out of 10. Getting the unpowered mages is the odd man out. And the abilities, when triggered, are actually useful. The shield is just enough that if you stack multiple of them, it actually seems like it kind of does something, though that's the weakest of the 3. What I would like to see every time is the spikes for the knockup and the spirits for the DPS. Let me show you what the DPS of the spirits actually can look like. And now we get to test this out. So there's a normal guy, there's an empowered. We buff them both. They do the same damage, right? Same damage if you're not doing your specialty, which for him is bone spikes. So now we drop another normal mage and another empowered, and this one's doing the bone spirit. And look at that damage. You see how it pours in much quicker when he's using the bone spirit version of it? So the bone spirits are undeniably more DPS when you get the empowered bone spirit, which means it's a 1 out of 3 time that you get it that it's actually going to be doing it, and the other times you're going to be getting something like this shield, which means it's not 100% reliable enough that I can say that this build in particular is the best summon build out there. I can't make that claim in this video today because I still think you probably get more damage from a thing like Grim Reaper. But what I will say is it has the potential for the highest damage, because if you summon all of these on top of each other and they all happen to be bone spirits, and then you dark curse it with the maggot's pants and you're buffing multiple mages with the bone spirit, you can even add in your own bone spirit if you want to. The actual damage there can be crazy pretty quickly. Something else you're probably wondering is, if I modify like my bone spikes or my bone armor and then have my mages actually end up casting those abilities, is that going to modify those abilities too? So, well, let's find out about that. What I have now is a change to my bone spikes with both the shoulders and helmet, and let's find out if when the bone spikes get casted, if that actually changed anything. So here we go. That's a shield, and what's interesting is the shield, I actually changed the shield to do it where the bone armor summons your damage around there, so that's a no. The armor didn't change. Let's see if the bone spikes change. So we're gonna walk past this heavy ornate chest. We're gonna go find some more enemies. Up here, we're going to place this down, and we get a non-empowered, so give me one moment. This time. Nope, that's the shield. Okay, here we go. There we go. And nope, the bone spikes is still doing the knock-up one, so that is negatory. You cannot adjust which versions they change by changing your legendary items. Next, I was wondering, well, is this item any good in things like challenge rifts? For instance, does the shield make them more durable so they're not dying as often, meaning I can misposition with the mages more often and still get through the challenge rifts quicker? Did the DPS increase on the boss when using bone spirits enough that it helps me with my late game DPS on the boss? These were the questions I wanted answered. So now I have a full challenge rift run enclosed for you to see exactly how that ended up. This was my first attempt in the challenge rift and the highest challenge rift I've done so far. Okay, we're going to try 174 with the new Empowered Mage. Now, we've confirmed that the Empowered Mage, every time you summon it, it's RNG, whether it does a shield, it does bone spikes, or it's going to do bone spirit, like the summoning, channeling type of ability. So, just going to be running skeletons and mages with the Dark Curse plus the shield bone armor that constantly does damage around them. It's not really a shield, it just does damage. Doesn't trigger Bottled Hope, which is a little bit of a bummer, but we're going to use it as it is. Okay, so buff, here we go. This is where it's kind of curious. Yeah, see, if they die from the packs is the problem. They're still kind of squishy. But see, there's the bone spikes. That's what I'm wondering, is how much can the bone spikes really carry? I'm getting fear. There's something. One of these packs is constantly fearing me. How much can the bone spikes carry? There's a spirit, so there's a spirit bomb. There's the armor from the skeletons. Okay, let's pull this next elite pack in here. Put a mage up. Throw the skeletons in. We probably need the Molten Golem to be able to block, or we need the armor that actually gives Rio shield, like, you know, parting gift, something like that, because the problem is the mages are going to die too quickly if they don't actually protect themselves with the knock-up, which is sort of what's happening here with these guys. So, you know, that's a cool move. You look at that, Bone Spirit in there, hits the elites, pretty good damage. We're doing fine on the time for this. Let's finish up that last guy, get the rift progress. Think through. Oh, looks like we put one more behind here too. Ooh, piece of candy all the way back. There we go. Get the frog demon. Okay, rift progress orb. Thank you very much. We're going to continue. And it does seem like the mages are almost all the time empowered, which is, it makes me wonder what the actual drop rate of it is, because it does significantly seem like it's like 80%, 85%, something like that. It's weird. It's almost like the odd one out is the non-empowered mage, is definitely what it seems like. So let's put the empowered mage up. One of them, one empowered, one non-empowered, just a shield. Shield doesn't really do anything in terms of DPS. There's another empowered mage, and that one's a bone spirit. Now, it does matter how you position these mages, both with the spikes as well as the bone spirit, because they're going to be shooting in a line. You kind of have to think about that when you position them. So what we're going to do is put the skeletons here, buff the skeletons up, mages go, and then buff all of those guys up, and there's your damage. Put another one of these here, and that's the bone spikes one. So there we got, they're shielding themselves, spiking and all that. We'll take all that, thank you very much. And now we're on to the boss, and now this is the part where I'm kind of curious. We get to see the actual, what does the damage look like on an actual boss? There's the spikes. Probably need to separate them out so it's a little bit easier to see, I suppose. Put them back there. There's the shield. So the shield's not too significant. It seems like it's about 20% or so of the total HP of the mage. I guess it's okay. It's, considering it goes on everyone, including your party, that's not terrible. There's 2 mages in a row that do the shields. See if we can drop another one. We get a non-empowered mage. Buff them anyway. Get another non-empowered mage, alright. Getting unlucky on the boss, at least with him. Not really too big of a deal. Let's do another one. Another non-empowered. That's the 3 in a row. I feel like that's like the first time we've almost got 3 in a row that were non-empowered. There we go. He does the bone spikes. I'll notice that the mage's bone spikes do seem significantly wider. It seems like it's a real big fat area of effect, which is kind of nice. It's almost like a circle AoE almost. There we go. So the next challenge rift is down. They definitely seem like they are okay in challenge rifts. The problem with summon build and challenge rifts, regardless, is just your minions die. And while they can shield themselves, and that does work, you really got to be better with your positioning. I don't think I was very good with my positioning in this one. You got to really separate them out so that the bone spikes and everything kind of delays for each other. And I don't think you just want to drop multiple directly on the top of each other with this type of thing, because they're just going to get one shot. So my take on them is they're not that bad. Honestly, they're probably pretty usable. The offhand tends to be one of the weaker spots for necromancers, and really it's competing with things like the new bone spirits, skull offhand. You're competing with the bone pillar burning, for instance, allure. You're competing with trying to have the continual damage mage if you're one of the people that likes that beam type of style, or the Grim Reaper mage. And while the Grim Reaper mage does actually do more damage technically, it does have a longer cooldown, and there's some people that might want just the empowered mages, and it does actually help you a little bit with survivability. So if you are not as stomping through everything, it might actually help you a little bit. Just not so much in the challenge rifts, because I still think the challenge rift for necromancer aren't necessarily all about the summon build. I think it's the non-summon stuff and cheesing with bone wall and damage over time and corpse explosions and these other types of builds that you can use to survive the higher combat ratings where your summons basically just get one shot. So overall, it's all right. It's usable. It's not the best legendary in the game, but it's probably like top 3 shields, top 4 shields for the necromancer at the moment. Consider liking the video, subscribing for the information. See you on the next video.